Well, yeah, good evening, folks. First of all, I'd like to apologize for the poor quality we had during the live stream. I spent a lot of time testing it earlier this evening, making sure my internet connection is running just fine. And it looks like when I pressed the live streaming button, all hell broke loose. And I think the moment then was just too big for me, and we just bombed out on that. So I've deleted those videos. I've decided to do an offline one because I'm still very excited to bring this content to you guys. We're just now going to do it sort of passively as opposed to live, which is a pity. Let me give you some background to what we're doing right here. The intention of these videos is not to be clinically produced. It's not going to be another DIY die. It's not going to be noted. There's not going to be any of those very fancy, well-produced YouTube videos that you see online. We've been running this on Facebook with just a live broadcast on Facebook for a while now, and the reason we started doing that is we have this WhatsApp group with a wonderful group of mixers, and they've got all these questions, and sometimes we get so wrapped up in our lives that it's very difficult to answer or to stay on top of the questions being asked, and it's difficult to find the time to really answer those questions to the extent that I would like to. So we started the live videos to answer those questions, and also because it's just easier to talk than to type. So all of this is going to be raw. It is not going to be professional. It is not going to look any better than what it does now. So this is what you're going to have, and I hope that the content itself will just be informative. So, be that as it may, I'm very excited to get into the topic for this evening, despite being so annoyed with the internet issues that I've had. So, Rashad from Black Vape, I purchased 2 of the Molin concentrates. I was working on specific recipes, and I wanted to try the banana and the pineapple. And Rashad from Black Vape was kind enough to send me three extra ones because he thought he wanted to get the reviews out there because there really aren't many reviews out, and he's also very excited about these flavors. So I'm very keen to get into them. I've tasted 2 of them. Sort of lightly, so I have a good idea of what to expect. The other 3 I did on our Facebook channel tonight, which was a live broadcast. We just continued the live broadcast on our Facebook page. So what I want to do is just give you a brief synopsis of what I think of these flavors, and I really think 5 out of 5 hits with these Molin concentrates. They are wonderful flavors. I'm thoroughly impressed. I'm going to start off with the single flavor ones. We've got 2 types of, there's more than just 2, but I like to classify them in 2 types of concentrates when it comes to Molin. And the first one is your single flavor mixes, and those are broken up into fruits and drinks, bakeries, creams, that sort of thing. And then they have an additional range which is called the M-line range, and I think the intention behind the M-line range is to almost be like a one-shot concentrate. So it's almost a pre-mix sort of layered recipe. We literally just pop it in there, give it a good shake, and off you go to vape it. So what I'm going to start off with, this Molin funky pineapple. This, I've tried almost every pineapple on the market. My favorite to date really is a combination between Juicy Pineapple by TFA and Innovative Pineapple. But I've got certain gripes with all the pineapples that I've tasted, and those are, although we are dealing with a very tart profile, a very sharp profile, they tend to all have this overhead of floral, which I can't stand. It's not that I can't stand. It's not that it tastes bad. It's just not what I like in the pineapple, and that has been the issue with all the pineapples. The second thing is all the maltol in the pineapples often make it hard to mix because it sort of muddles all the other flavors together as maltol does. So that's another thing that annoyed me about it. And then the last one, which was really the Achilles heel for all the pineapples, apart maybe from Innovative Pineapple, is that it meets with the steep. So you have a wonderful, vibrant pineapple for the first few days, and then as the steep progresses, that starts to lose its flavor. It's very similar to TFA strawberry ripe bright. Same effect to that. It is a phenomenal concentrate, but it does lose its potency on the steep. So just going to give us a tug or two just to refresh my memory on what's on there. I'm just running a good old twisted messes with a twisted flat wire dual coil, freshly wicked. So this is such a fascinating pineapple, and I'll tell you why. It's extremely fresh, it's extremely authentic, and it's not very sweet. But think of a perfectly ripe pineapple, almost hardcore pineapple. It's not sun ripened at all. It's not soft and mushy. It's just fresh and brand spanking new. That's the kind of pineapple that I'm getting off of this. I'm getting some floral on it, but it's really not nearly as pronounced as the other florals would be, especially TFA and Cap. Those are the worst two culprits when it comes to the floral notes. So I'm not getting any of that on the inhale. I'm getting a beautiful, strong pineapple inhale, and then I get more of that a textured sort of flavor on the exhale, which then brings about all those authentic pineapple notes. I'm really enjoying this quite a bit. I do remember that off the steep with a specific pineapple, I did get a bit of almost a bubblegummy sort of tail. It was very light. I wouldn't describe it as an off flavor. I wouldn't describe it as a bad flavor, but I did get a lot of pineapple right at the end of the exhale that lingered for quite some time. So this is now steeped for 5 days. That has certainly dissipated completely. So there's also a little bit of harshness on the shake, but that is almost any sort of citrus kind of flavor. You do get that harshness, and it does go away 2-3 days. It doesn't develop any further. In fact, the throat heat on it has reduced drastically. Not that there was much to start off with. So I'm getting a lovely pineapple, fresh, crisp pineapple on the inhale. And I can see why they call it a funky pineapple, because you've got this tart, almost citric acid kind of tail to it. It's not bad at all. It's actually quite nice, and it's going to work wonderful in tropical mixes. I'm very curious. I haven't played around with this concentrate, so I can't really tell you how it handles itself in a mix. But what I can tell you, with any sort of soft profile, if you're looking at kiwis, even other pineapples, light tropical notes, anything like that, this flavor is definitely going to stand its ground. I don't know whether it is going to stand its ground against something like a very tart citrus, like a blood orange or something like that. But I do suspect it'll work in there too. I think this will work phenomenally well in a bakery, as long as it's a light bakery. I don't think it's going to stand up too well with a heavy bakery with dark caramels and creams and those kind of things. It's going to sort of take the backseat there. So I don't think there's going to be much worth for it in that. This is going to stand up to a menthol. I have no doubt that it'll stand up to a menthol. It is strong enough for that. Now my test sample I mixed at, sorry, I've got so many concentrates here that I don't know where I've put what now. Let me just try and get organized very quickly. Right, so this one I mixed at, actually very low. I mixed this one up at 6%. The Molin concentrates, as a whole, I think they fall into the same line as your Capella's, Flavor West, TFA. So anything from a 6 to 10%, I reckon 10% is probably pushing it. I think 8% is your sort of maximum that you'll go on a single flavor concentrate on these. All the pineapples, I'm really thinking I'm going to place this right at the top with Inawera pineapple. The only con to this flavoring, and I don't think it's a flavor, it's a con, because Any flavoring is exactly like a tool. They all have their place, so I'm not going to say it's a bad thing at all. But what I want to say is it doesn't have any of that syrupy quality. And I find with the pineapple, you almost need that syrupy quality to help it to carry in with heavy flavors, because that goes and sits right at the tail, and there's not a big tail on this one. This is mostly immediate on the XL and then dissipates very quickly. The flavor dissipates very quickly, so it doesn't linger, and you almost need that lingering, that sugary, syrupy, juicy sort of tail to help it carry through bakeries and sort of other heavy profiles. But this is light, it is crisp, it is refreshing, it is fresh, it is moderately sweet, so you can play with as much sweetness as you want to. It is not very sweet, and I think it's going to be a great flavor, especially with, like I said, softer profiles like your kiwis and maybe even a soft banana, watermelons, all those kind of things. It's going to work beautifully in that. Let me just clear these weeks out very quickly, and then let's move on to the next one. And I'd like to then try the Molin banana. Now, what I'd expect from a banana is to get that typical banana runt. I'm yet to find a banana where I'm not getting that sort of artificial banana flavor. I think that's just a function of how a banana flavor is created in an artificial world. I don't think we're going to get away from that. What I was having trouble with all the other bananas I've tasted, and I've tasted Capella banana split, TFA banana cream, Hang Seng banana cream, something from Lorenz. I don't have it with me right now. I can't remember whether it's also a banana cream or something like that. So I've tasted Lorenz. I've tasted Clyrolinx, which I actually found to be a very good concentrate. So I've literally tested all the bananas I could get my hands on, and it's got this sort of astringent bite to it, which I'm not particularly fond of, because I'd like to pair that with very light profiles. So I was hoping Molin would be the answer to that. So I'm expecting to get a bit of that astringentness. I'm expecting to get a little bit of harshness, which is funny. I don't know why I get throaty from bananas, but I do. And then I'm expecting to taste a lot of that sort of banana runs, artificial flavors from it. So just make sure this is not dry. Just give me a moment to take a tug or two. Like Molin banana, I mixed this up, originally mixed it up at 4%. When I tested it earlier on the Facebook broadcast, I found 4% to be very low, which is ironic. Something like a TFA's banana ripe Clyrolinx, any of the other bananas, even the banana creams, I think 3% is the absolute maximum for the cream ones, and then any standalone banana, I believe, I can't see you using those over 1.5%. They tend to bully anything you throw at it, and it's very difficult to balance. This I mixed up at 4% originally. I since increased it to 6% during the previous testing, because it was too low, and I couldn't get everything I wanted out of this flavor. So this is shake and bake. I've not steeped this one at all, and tonight's the first time I'm tasting this. So what you have here is, again, semi-sweet, which is great, because all the other banana flavors I found way too sweet. So this one is a semi-sweet one. I'm getting a lot of that banana runs, that artificial banana flavor on the inhale. But on the exhale, there's something very surprising happening with this. With this concentrate, and I'm getting this sort of soft. If you have a perfectly ripe banana, you don't expect it to have a lot of those tropical tones, that spicy tone that a banana would have, like you'd get from a banana ripe TFA. You're not expected to be too sweet. It should be a very soft flavor profile, not so much in texture, but in how it physically tastes. And that is exactly what I'm getting on the tail of this. It doesn't linger very long, which is phenomenal for this. Bananas tend to tie my palate because they linger for so long after the vape, but this one is almost, it dissipates almost immediately. It's a wonderful concentrate. I'm still getting a little bit of throat heat, and I know a lot of people don't get throat heat from bananas. I just do. But this, out of a scale of 1 to 10, I'd call it a 2. It's very low. It's got a little bit of harshness, which I just expect to round out nicely in 48 hours or so with a short steep. But this definitely is a phenomenal flavor. In terms of texture, it's very smooth, but it's also very thin. You don't have a lot of body in this banana, which has got its pros and cons, I suppose. I think this will hold up in bakeries. This will definitely hold up in any food profiles, creams, all those kind of things. What I do like about this concentrate is because you can probably go up single flavor with this up to 8%. That gives us a lot of leeway to mix, and this is going to be excellent for a beginner mixer. It's very forgiving. The difference between 4 and 6% wasn't that drastic at all, and that is an exciting thing. I find when I'm mixing bananas into mixes, I'm playing around with 0.1 of a gram to try and just tame that banana down and still keep it. It's very difficult for me to mix with bananas, but I think this one is going to be very forgiving. I almost think next to Clyralinks, I almost want to say this is also one of my top 2 banana flavors. So if you guys see me coughing, I seem to have run into a bad batch of nicotine. It didn't start off bad at all. It's not discolored or anything like that. Sorry, I need to close the name just because I'm not allowed at this point in time to really disclose the source of the nicotine. But basically, it's a very light colored nicotine. It's a very good nicotine. It held up very nicely for the last 2 months. I made a 500 ml batch of pre-mixed base liquids. So I basically mix my PGVG and my nicotine at an 80-20 ratio. So that when I have to mix, I literally pour in my concentrates, and then I just top it up with my pre-mix, and that just makes life easier for me. But it seems like the last batch, I don't know if it wasn't properly mixed or anything. I'm not getting a peppery taste from that nicotine, but I'm getting an extremely harsh nicotine. Given this was cut down from 1,000 milligrams to 100 milligrams nicotine, so I suspect somehow that cutting process might have gone wrong, or maybe it wasn't quite to 1,000 milligrams, maybe 1,100, because a 10% variance in nicotine is very often acceptable. So I'm wondering where there's that. So if I can just show you guys here on the mixer, I've got another 500 ml batch. Apologies for the console jar. I haven't gotten around to buy myself proper beakers yet, and I want to buy quality beakers. I've only got the little 50 ml beakers like that. So but anyway, so I mixed up a next new batch now. So if you guys see me coughing a lot, it is that nicotine which I'm just sort of working out of my system at the moment. Unfortunately, I mixed these concentrates a week ago using that nicotine, so I am coughing a lot, and it's been ripping my throat for the last few days. But anyway, I'm hoping this next batch is going to be better, and that we can redeem this nicotine. It is a very good quality nicotine. Right, so enough about that. Let's move on to the next concentrate, and that is the custard. Let me just see, I'm so disorganized after this mess I had earlier tonight. Alright. I'm going to clear this out very quickly, apologies. I should do the trick. And then compounded by a little bit of a cold. Now I think my throat's taking a hammering at the moment, and I've done an exceptional amount of flavor testing for a recipe I'm developing. So I've literally, last night for 2 hours, I vaped through almost 30 mils of liquid. So I'm probably need a little bit of a break. All right, but at least I don't have vapor stung, and that's a redeeming thing for me at the moment. Typically by now I would not be able to taste, I don't know, a rubber tire if you put it on my mouth. All right, so this is the Molin berry custard. Right, so the first thing I'm not getting from this, I'm not getting any diacetyl from this. I think diacetyl's got a very prominent smell for me anyways. I can't deal with cap vanilla custard over 3%. I just can't stand it anymore because of that diacetyl taste and smell. But I'm not getting any of that. Another culprit is what's it called? Acid propanol. Anyway, it's another very distinctive flavor. I'm not picking up any of that in here. So first of all, let's talk about this this custard in terms of the flavor alone. I'm getting a very thin custard. Let's say, for instance, I take an ultra mild custard and I dilute that with 1 to 3 parts milk. So I'm getting a very thin sort of custard out of it. I'm getting an extremely light vanilla. And I find that refreshing because also in cap vanilla custard, I almost get that peppery vibe that you get from TFA Vbic. I get that peppery vibe from the vanilla, and the vanilla is so overpowering that there's nothing you can do except that vanilla is in your concentrate and work around it. So I'm very excited with how light this vanilla is. It's a very nondescript vanilla as well, so it's not very dark, it's not light, it's not fluffy, it's not bright, it's not particularly dull. It's perfectly balanced, it's very light, and I can see myself adding on any vanilla that I'd like to get the profile I'm looking for. If I'm looking for a vanilla bourbon on top of that, maybe just a straight vanilla, if a vanilla classic, whatever the case is, this is going to be very flexible, and that's something I like about this. Get a very thin vanilla on the inhale and then more of that vanilla on the exhale. This is only steeped about 5 days, so it's going to need to go maybe another week to develop fully. But I am very surprised with the fact that I can't taste any diacetyl in here. It's got a lot of body, which is done great, and it's definitely not done with something like a butyric acid or an acetonin or anything, so you don't get that sort of malted milk kind of flavor that you would get. So this is very good in terms of texture. You know, you get those little tubs and you sort of flip them around and pop the seal and you lift it up, and this sort of flambe, I don't know if that's what you call it, that flambe custard with the caramel that comes over it. So that is the kind of texture that I'm getting out of this custard, and I think it's going to work very well, especially with fruits and those kind of things. I don't know how strong this, how well this will stand up in a heavy bakery. Excuse me, in a heavy bakery, but I can see this mixing very well with anything else that you throw at this. It's not going to have the same, it's not going to impose the same kind of body that a cap vanilla custard V1 would do. And I'd actually, I would compare this almost to a TFA French vanilla or a cap V2. Maybe even rather a FA custard, although FA custard is almost just like a clean slate custard with no vanillas or anything in. But in terms of texture, I'd compare it either to a V2 or maybe more to a flavor art custard. So I'm excited to work with this one because of the fact that I can play with my vanillas as much as I can, and I love vanilla shisha vanilla in Awera. I love that, but I find the moment I combine that with cap vanilla custard, it creates some weird off flavor which I don't enjoy one bit. which is a pity for me. So I'm looking forward to using this one in the mix. I think it's a very good one. I don't think it's got the kind of body that you've got in the Cat V1, but this is a phenomenal tasting one. Not getting any off flavors. It doesn't have a lingering taste or anything like that. I'm very impressed with the Molin berry custard. Right, so we covered the pineapple, which is definitely my top 2 list of pineapples going forward. This will stay in my arsenal. We've covered the it's actually called soft banana, and I can see why, because it does have that that sort of banana runs artificial flavor on the top, but on the tail of it, you get a very soft, perfectly ripe banana, and I'm enjoying that quite a bit. So the next 2 we're going to be discussing, the first one is this Molin berry apple cider mint, and then the second one is the Molin berry, I don't know if that's in focus, I don't know if I put off the autofocus, is Molin berry indulge. So both of these have very specific purposes. They're not really meant for you to include in as part of the mix. They're meant to be almost sort of a one-shot concentrate, and that is how they market it as well. But I can tell you what, the one I've been enjoying quite a bit is this apple cider mint, and let me tell you a little bit about it. Let me just top it up here so I can refresh my memory. Right, so I'm getting a very crisp, clean, bright green apple flavor to it. It does have a little bit of sort of that cap double apple vibe to it. It does have a little bit of that that creamy apple, or not a creamy gritty apple texture to it, but it's definitely in my view a green apple more than anything else. The cider is actually very well balanced in this. The cider, and let me explain it this way. So if I'm drinking an alcoholic beverage, an apple cider vinegar, an apple cider, the apple and the cider is almost at the same level, right? So you taste both of them at the same time. So if I were to compare this, I would say the cider is almost half as much as that profile. So it's not a very bitter, it's not very in your face. It's almost just more an accent. Not really the same kind of fermented that you get from a liquid amber. Liquid amber is a very dark fermented taste. This one is extremely light, it's very good. Then there's mint in there too. That mint is extremely low. If I were to use or equate how much mint, I would say it's a 0.1 gram in a 30 ml. It's a very, very low amount of mint. It's perfectly balanced, and it's a fresh mint. It's a leaf mint. It's not a peppermint or a spearmint or an artificial mint. It's almost a fresh herby mint, which I'm enjoying quite a bit. I'm going to pop this into the goon as well. I like swapping around my atomizers as I'm testing them, just to get sort of see what it brings out. I even do that on the Mage, on the TVF8 as well. You get sort of the full gist of the flavor. Oh, where's the airflow? Let's close that completely. Here we go. Crisp, bright apple. I think the apple may need a bit of work, and the first thing that comes to mind for me is a Capella double apple, or maybe even a Flavor Art or Jungle Flavors Fuji. That's going to go well work just to lift that apple a bit. I find the apple to be very linear and very thin, although it's a pronounced green apple. I just don't. It doesn't have that sort of fruity body that I like in an apple. Not getting any throat heat from this whatsoever, which is strange because an apple usually also does give me throat heat. especially Fuji apple after a bit of a steep. So this is shake and vape. No, sorry, this one is 5 days old. My apologies. So I'd expected to have developed a bit of that throat heat by now. The mint really is so low, it's perfectly balanced. So I would highly recommend this as a single flavor concentrate. If you're really not feeling like developing a recipe or anything like that, you're going to be, let's put it this way, if you were to develop this into a recipe using all the ingredients in here, you're going to be hard pressed to get it balanced as well. It's very well balanced. So I'd say at 8%, this is a winner single flavor. If you are a sweet tooth, I would suggest adding a little bit of ethyl maltol, maybe 1% ethyl maltol, just to increase the sweetness. But so you've got this bright, fresh, crisp apple. It's got a little bit of that gritty, creamy apple texture in it. You've got this nice bitter cider, very pronounced yet balanced so perfectly. It's so low in it, yet you still taste it. And then you've got this fresh mint leaf, sort of mint, which this herby sort of mint. I'm enjoying this a lot. The mint for me is a pity, it just makes it difficult to work with. I would have loved to have used this concentrate in something like an apple pie or an apple bakery, where I don't have to use a liquid amber and an apple to sort of get that fermented apple taste. This would have worked perfectly for that. But the mint now sort of restricted. I still think you can get away with a lot of tropical mixes on this, a lot of fruit mixes on this one, drinks mixes, those kind of things. You'll get away with that just fine. It's just now limiting in terms of using it with creams or using it with bakeries. It does have a slight cooling effect. I would not compare that to a colada. I'm very sensitive for colada. I taste a sweaty socks. I mean, someone described it like that, and that's just always stuck with me. I get a sweaty socks flavor from a colada, which I find terrible. And then a mint, which doesn't have that flavor, obviously now, or mint or menthol now, obviously has that sort of menthol taste to it, which you might not want in every scenario. So this almost seems like it's a WS32 that they're using, which is simply a cooling agent with no sort of flavors to it. I saw a Facebook post today, Flavor Mill now has it in stock, and I spoke with Rashad about a week ago. Black Vapor, I know they were in the process of bottling and making that available. So if you can get your hands on WS32, please do that. It's a phenomenal additive to use. I don't particularly always want that cooling effect, especially not in the winter months. But what I often find is my fruit mixes, your lychees, your pineapples, your passion fruits, what I don't like about it is the moment it's heated up in your vapor and you inhale it, it almost gives that sort of fresh fruit that's been lying in the sun for 2 hours sort of flavor. It's that overripe sort of weird texture to it. The flavor is still fine, but it reminds me of a fruit that's been lying in the sun. And this WS32, even at 0.15%, just cools it enough down to keep it to a fruit profile. And I love using that with lychee. I love using that with pineapple. I love using that with your sort of passion fruits, any kind of fruit that you'd expect to eat cold. 0.15% WS32 works well. WS32 is very versatile. If you like an icy cool, if you're going for a sort of a beverage or an ice cream or something like that, you can knock it all the way up to 2%. You will get a hell of a bite. You will cleanse your soul, but you definitely won't get any more flavors from that. It really is a worthwhile additive to add to your arsenal. Just clean these wicks out quickly, and then we move on to the Molinberry Indulge. Now, I've got such mixed feelings about this Molinberry Indulge. First, on the shake, I thought it's a wonderfully balanced concentrate. All the flavors are perfectly balanced, but I didn't care much for the profile. And the profile of that is fresh raspberries with I don't know if it's a caramel or a butterscotch. I'd almost compare it. You know those little sweets that you get in the clear wrapper. It's a hard candy caramel, but it almost has that creamy vibe. So remove the hard candy from that equation. That sort of butterscotch cream. That is the sort of caramel I'm getting out of this. Then it has a vanilla in it, which is probably exactly the same vanilla that they use in the custard. I get exactly the same vibe from it, and I like it. It's very low, and then it's got a little bit of that custard in there as well. So it's a weird profile. I didn't care much for the profile, and my initial thoughts was I'm probably not going to like this. The funny thing is, the more I've been vaping it this evening, every time I have a drag, I just need another tug. It's addictive. It's like crystal meth or something, I don't know. So it's almost like a song that you hear for the first time and you don't like it, and the more you listen to that song, the more you like it. And that is what I'm getting with this indulge. I'm going to wig it up just now, or drip it up just now, and just give you guys a full description of what I'm getting from it. Must be honest, I don't know if I'm a fan of this Goond LP. I've used the full size one, and I enjoyed that a bit more than this LP. Right, let's drip some of this indulge pineapple. Here we go. So unorganized tonight, but I think it's I'm flustered from the technical difficulties, and especially if you spend that amount of time just making sure everything runs perfectly well beforehand, and you're launching for the first time to the population of this world, and then you've got this sort of fuck up happening. It's very discouraging. But we'll be over it by in the morning, and we'll try and resolve these kind of things. Right, so Molin Berry Indulge, and this again is an M line, so it's meant to be a sort of one-shot concentrate. It's meant to be a pre-packaged recipe. You're only supposed to add in your sort of 6 to 8% on that, and then just have a good vape off the bat. I can tell you now, because of the custard, the vanillas, and the caramel / butterscotch, you're probably going to need about a week steep on that. I've got a week steep on this one now. I mixed it up it's probably like 3 days ago. So I don't know whether it's fully developed. It does taste well. So let me tell you what I get. Right, so in the front of this recipe, you've got a sort of pink raspberry, very authentic. If you've ever had a raspberry Molina, if you ever had a real raspberry, that's what it tastes like. Molina, I consider a bit sweeter than this one. This one is not very sweet. A pronounced raspberry tone, some of that sort of typical earthy notes that you get from a fresh raspberry, and although it's flavorful, it is still a very light raspberry, and I'm so surprised that it would stand up to the caramel and the custards and the vanilla like it does. But definitely in the driver's seat for this recipe. It's wonderful. Then riding shotgun next to it, I would say, is this sort of butterscotch slash caramel. And like I said, you guys, it's almost like those caramel cream hard candies minus the hard candy texture. So it is a very good, I'd love to find this caramel as a standalone. I'm actually going to check if Molin Berry's got something like that. It verges on the brink of that soft crack caramel that everyone's been trying to perfect. I wouldn't say it's spot on, but it damn well is close, and you can work with that to maybe get close to a soft crack. So we've got all raspberry on the sort of inhale, and then the immediate exhale, and then the sort of caramel starts building up as you're exhaling. and then finishes off with that sort of light nondescript vanilla with tad bit of custard. I think in a week or so time, I think the custard will build up a bit more and become a bit more prominent and start developing a bit better. And I think that would be a very interesting addition to this recipe, or a very interesting final product. But this is very good. Like I said, you guys, I didn't care much for the profile. I couldn't see how a raspberry and a caramel and vanilla would really go together well. But like I told you guys, the more I vape this, the more I enjoy this. And what I'm so impressed with is that the flavor dissipates almost immediately after the exhale. It doesn't linger at all. So to continue to taste this, you need to have another tug. And I think that is almost recipe development magic. The quicker the flavors dissipate, the more addictive that flavor becomes. If it lingers, like I spoke about the bananas earlier, if that banana lingers for too long, then it becomes tiring on the palate, and I can't vape more than 10 mils at a shot, and I need to move on to a lighter flavor or something that's got a bit of contrast, sort of to just replenish or refresh your palate. This doesn't have it at all. The moment you exhale, you've got a little bit of raspberry sticking around in your mouth, but for the most part, the flavor dissipates completely and very quickly. I'm enjoying this very much, and I'm probably going to finish this 10 ml before the end of tonight. I'm very fascinated by it. I still don't think my mind can't comprehend why this profile is working, but it's working. Not kidding. None of these ones have, not a single one of these 5 concentrates have given me any form of an off note. Their profiles are very correct, or very accurate. So, and what I mean by off note, it doesn't have to be a bad tasting smell. Let's think of a Flavor West honeydew. Is it Flavor West? What's the honeydew I've got here? Let me just make sure. Right, folks, I can't seem to find it immediately now, and I've got an absolute mess of flavors next to me here, so it's very difficult for me to find at the moment. But what I'm trying to explain is that's got a very bubblegum. I mean, it's got a very pronounced bubblegum tail, which is not unpleasant. I love it about that flavor, but that is an off flavor because it's not true to the profile that you are creating, and that is something I've not found with any one of these five concentrates. All of them are very authentic, very accurate. I'm not getting any more flavors on them. Even shape and vape, I'd expect the Molinberry Indulge to need a bit of a steep. Off the shape, this is very good. Even after 5 days, I could vape this all day. So in terms of my overall feedback, I think where Molinberry lacks the most is just in terms of texture. If you were to think of, although I hated the TFA banana ripe, you get a hell of a lot of banana texture from that flavor, and that is something that's lacking here. I'd say the apple cider mint at least has some of that that sort of texture I'm looking for in terms of the apple, and then also has that effervescent quality in the cider, which I think is pretty accurate. But for me, as a whole, I think we could do some work on texture with all of these, create some body in some of these flavors. But other than that, I can't fault them. I can't see why any of these five flavors, why you shouldn't buy them or why they shouldn't be part of your arsenal. Even the M lines, I mean, I'm stoked if I'm running late and I don't have a lot of time to mix something up proper. That's going to be a fantastic sort of one-shot mix to mix up with. So guys, that then sort of concludes the discussion for tonight. I hope you guys found it interesting. And like I said to you guys, this is not going to be better produced than what it is right now. I simply don't have the time or talent or the expertise to do it any better than this. You've got a logo bottom left of your screen, and that's probably about as good as it's going to get. I might put a hat on next time instead of combing my hair. And I've got speech impediments and bad Dutchman accents and all those kind of things. Guys are just going to have to live with that. I don't think I'm going to bother too much fixing any of that. I like it raw. I like it that we can just have a discussion about these things. And also, I'm not beyond reproach. I'm not saying what I'm saying, or my opinions hold truth over anybody else's opinions. I just find I want everybody else's opinions. I don't care if they translate a flavor completely different to how I translate it. What matters in the end is how it tastes to me. But also, if you're going to a bit more advanced recipe development, those are the kind of things you need to start sort of taking care of, because other people will be buying your product if that is what you intend to do going forward. And so, like I said, I'm not beyond reproach, I'm not beyond criticism on my flavor reviews and those kind of things. In fact, I would welcome them. I would welcome any suggestions you guys have or critiques that you guys have in terms of mannerism or content or anything like that that you'd like me to maybe work on, just to make sure that I don't end up being fucking annoying or anything like that. So guys, I'm very excited to do this every Thursday evening. I'm going to try and for now just do them offline and upload by 9 o'clock on a Thursday evening for it to be available, just until I can maybe sort out my streaming issues. I bought this new Microsoft Live Cam, and I just suspect that the image quality is too good, or the throughput is too high for my 8 megabits per second line to handle. So I suspect that might be part of the issue. I'll try and resolve that. Other than that, guys, let me know in the comments if there's anything else you guys would like me to discuss. If I don't know the answers, I'll do a damn good job at finding out exactly what those are. I'm a textbook ninja. I love reading up and finding out the answers that I myself might not know. So yeah, guys, that thing concludes it for tonight. So again, my apologies for the technical difficulties on the live feed, but I hope you guys find this interesting. I hope you guys find this valuable. And then if there's anybody that has got half an inclination of graphic design and would just like to get me a picture to look better on the screen, I think this blue, the logo is pretty cool, I think, but the rest seems very dull and crappy. So anybody out there that can help me with just a few ideas to spruce it up a bit, I'd really appreciate that. And then yeah, guys, looking forward to chatting to you guys on the forums, the WhatsApp groups, the Facebook pages, all those kind of things. And then yeah, thanks very much for sticking around. Thanks very much for looking. If you're interested in this, like to hear more, please hit the subscribe button. My intention is never to monetize anything I do for DIY. I do that for the love of the game. And apart from the fact that Black Vapor sponsored me the 3 concentrates, most of the concentrates you see here on my desk is what I buy myself. And like I said, I'm not going to monetize this at all. I just like to share the information because that's how I do things. Alright guys, that's it then from my side. Thanks very much for tuning in, and then I hope to catch up with you guys next week Thursday again, where we can maybe discuss some kiwis. I've been doing some testing on all the kiwis available in the market. I've got some good and bad feedback for you guys on those ones, and I think those would be valuable as well. Alright guys, have a nice evening and enjoy this track. I just love this track.